Hello, Washington FBLA. Welcome to our new series, Industry Connect, providing members with a peek into their future as industry representatives and FBLA alumni share how their FBLA journey or business background shaped their careers and continues to guide their future. I am Samyukta Krishnan, and I am serving as your West Central Region Vice President this year. Joining us today is Karina Kejriwal, an alumna from our very own Washington FBLA. Before we dive into our first question, Karina, could you please introduce yourself and tell us about how you joined FBLA?
Hello, everyone. I'm Karina Kejriwal. I am a sophomore at Purdue University, but I went to high school and was a part of the Tesla STEM FBLA chapter. A little bit about my FBLA story. I joined FBLA in my freshman year of high school as a way to kind of explore business since I did go to a STEM-focused high school. And ever since then, I competed at both state, regionals, and nationals for multiple years. And then I also served as a two-time state officer.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm also from STEM, so we love to represent. So let's just dive right into the first question. So how did FBLA help you figure out what you wanted to pursue in the future?
Yeah, so I think FBLA did a really good job of helping me understand what were the different career opportunities and also industries available to me. Like I said, going to a STEM-focused high school, we were kind of like tunnel visioned into what was available. And so FBLA was kind of my outlet. I did a bunch of different competitive events like graphic design, social media strategies, but also more on the business side, like sales presentation and introduction to business presentation, which really gave me a good idea into what my strengths were. Was it speaking? Was it on the technical end? Was it presenting? And I was kind of able to understand, okay, these are my interests and this is what I'm kind of best suited towards. Now, how can I find a career and a major that tailors to that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think being in a STEM world, it's kind of nice to venture out and see what business has to offer too. Continuing on to our next question, as you transition from high school to pursuing and major in industrial engineering, what was one challenge you faced and how did FBLA really help you prepare to tackle that?
Yeah, so I think FBLA prepared me more on the soft skills side. Industrial engineering is an engineering discipline, so a lot of my coursework isn't towards the business field, but it's kind of a major that ties engineering and business together. So it's a lot of supply chain operations and working with different sectors of a company. And so I think a lot of what FBLA taught me is how to work towards problem solving skills. A lot of my major is a bunch of different case studies. So, okay, a manufacturer is going through this problem with their supply chain. How are we going to go and fix this? Which is honestly just an FBLA competitive event. Here's a problem, now create a pitch for it. And so I think I really learned how to problem solve, present my strategies, and then also how to take on challenges. And I've been able to directly apply that towards my major. But then also outside of my major, a lot of students do consulting as kind of something that they're interested in, and case competitions, which are basically FBLA competitive events. So I've used a lot of my FBLA presentations from the past as direct templates for that as well.
That's really cool. So how has what was your favorite event and how did that event specifically um teach you skills that could show up in your presentations?
Yeah, so I think the one that kind of comes off to top of mind quickly is sales presentation. So I did that my junior year of high school, and recently, about a couple months ago, I had to create a pitch for Purdue Athletics on how they can restructure their ticketing distribution because it was basically a mess before. And so I was able to use my pitching skills and my problem solving skills from sales pres because we kind of had to do the same thing, right? We were tasked with how do we sell this product. And so I had to sell my new system and basically understand the operations of it, the finance business aspect of it, and everything. So it was basically pitching instead of a product, a more system and a route and a operations type point thing. And so I used a lot of my sales presentation skills directly towards that.
Yeah, kind of adding on to that, that kind of leads into our next question. So FBLA focuses on a lot of leadership and teamwork. So how did those skills specifically carry over into your college experience as an industrial engineering student or even through internships?
Yeah, I think I can take it first as a student. So like I mentioned before, a lot of industrial engineers go into consulting, which is essentially problem fix it. And so the same thing there. I'm part of a consulting group on campus, and I am actually a project manager, which means I lead a group of 4 to 6 consultants through a semester on a different case with a different client. And so I've really been able to use my skills being a state officer, but also a competitor in FBLA on how to lead a team, but also how to work with a team. And I think that's kind of made me a stronger project manager and been able to kind of translate my skills and also grow on them as well. But on the internship side of things, I think being in a more professional corporate environment, I think I'm understanding a lot about how to really sell yourself and pitch yourself. I think FBA is a lot more than just the competitive events, or for me being a state officer, it's also about like the workshops we attended, or it's the trainings that we did. And I think I'm really able to use that networking business skills in my internships as well.
Yeah, so kind of just like leading on right to the next question, how did those skills and like what sort of skills do you think you can continue to apply from what you learned through FBLA in terms of like leadership and business skills you've gained within your career, but also within your daily life?
Yeah, I think the main skill is how to communicate and how to speak. I think FBA really shaped who I was as a leader, but also as a public speaker. Being a competitor, being an officer, being someone who led a lot of those workshops, I think I was really able to understand how to communicate. And I'm doing this in the workplace now in my current internship, where I'm really understanding how do I present my ideas. I am the intern, trying to understand all the things, all the different lingo in a company. And so how can I present myself not as the intern, but as a working professional? And kind of be at that same ground level. So I think my biggest piece of kind of takeaway from FBLA is those type of workshops where we learn how to network, how to pitch yourself, how to present yourself, and then also those public speaking workshops that we had.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I love those public speaking workshops. They really help me grow who I am as a leader, but also as a person. So, yeah, I mean, workshops were super helpful. Um, so, and like to kind of leave on a good note, what kind of advice would you give to current FBLA members, those who are new, but also those who are returning, and also in terms of those who are thinking about running for state officer?
Yeah, I can take those like step by step. I think if you're going to be a new member this time, my biggest piece of advice would be to try an event that you don't think you're good at. So my first year, my freshman year, I did graphic design, which was super different to me. I'd never really used Adobe Suite or anything of that sort. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the times you get really comfortable freshman year and you were like, oh, let me do something I'm good at. But I think I grew the most and understood the most about what FBLA is because I did an event that I wasn't too, familiar with. But I would also recommend doing the intro events. So my sophomore year, I did introduction to business presentation, and my team and I actually placed first place at nationals. And I think the biggest reason for that is intro events are set up for freshmen and sophomores so we can excel. A lot of the different like what the problems that we have to solve are like the normal events, but you're only competing against those of a similar age and background as you. So I think it really allows you to learn and put yourself out there in a more comfortable space. So that'd be my biggest advice for new members. And then for returning members, my biggest piece of advice is go an extra mile. Now that you've kind of gotten set up in, okay, what are competitive events like? Maybe you can run for chapter office. Maybe you can run for state office. Maybe you can join some workshops that the state office team or the national office team is putting on to really see what are some other opportunities within FBA that I might be interested in. And then my last thing, if you're running for state office, is first of all, you should definitely go for it. I think state office was one of the biggest opportunities for me to grow as a person. But my biggest piece of advice would be to talk to current and past state officers, learn about their experience, learn about the initiatives that they did, because it'll give you stronger ideas for different types of things that you can do as a state officer and make your application interview stronger.
Yeah, I also think that like that's a really good way to introduce new members. I know for me when I first joined, attending workshops and doing those intro events really helped me one boost my confidence, but also like really learn the skills I needed to become an effective public speaker. And also speaking from a state officer perspective, I know when I was running for state officer, I reached out to the at the time West Central Region Vice President, and they were able to give me a lot of tips. So I love that advice. So that's our Washington FBLA alumna, Karina Kejriwal. Thank you so much for joining us today. If those of you watching have any questions from today or have any other questions you would like to see answered by alumni or industry representatives, feel free to reach out to any of us. Make sure to follow at WAFBLA on Instagram to stay updated on all of our future Industry Connect episodes. Thank you.